Well, I think that was the best wet weather drive I've seen since Lewis Hamilton 2008 in Silverstone. What an absolute masterclass from Max Verstappen that we've seen here in Brazil this evening. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Martin. I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. The first thing I want to say about this Grand Prix is that it was not an assessment in lap time. It had nothing to do with the lap time. This was an assessment in initially how to manage an aborted start, how to do a good start in the wet, attack and defense like racecraft, strategy, of course, driving in the wet, and confidence under brakes and tire management as well. So it's interesting to note that there's two different sides here. This race spoke completely to Max Verstappen's strengths and totally against Lando Norris's strengths. We've said on this channel for a long time, Lando has the lap time. He has that one lap pace. He's got the feel for the car, the grip. But when it comes to the races, he just doesn't have it for Max Verstappen in all of the variables that a race can throw at you, like we've seen here in Brazil. And they were thrown a lot of challenges here in Brazil, and Lando kind of messed it up just before the race even started. So it was an absolute masterclass from Max Verstappen. We are going to start with him in this video and just run through his race. So with the aborted start, Max was one of the few drivers that actually stayed on the grid. So this is a good job from Max. He stayed on the grid together with Franco Colapinto as well, but Lando was the one that pulled away in the aborted start. So I noted that down, and that's not what you want to do. The flashing yellow means just wait for some direction. Normally there would be a green light that can say go around and complete another formation lap. So Lando's reacted to that. I'm not sure if the team have told him to go or what the situation there was, but that's the first thing to note. Now, when it comes to the starts in the wet, obviously it's a little bit different. You want to put down different revs. Maybe you want to start in second gear. You want to manage your traction and wheel spin on the way out. You want to do your short shifting, potentially set up a different throttle mapping, similar to what we spoke about in the qualifying analysis. But those are the sort of things that you can play with in order to try to get away. As it turns out, Lando got a really bad start and George got a cracker start straight up the inside into turn one. And Max as well got an amazing start. He even had to go around the car in front of him. I'm not sure who it was, which means putting in a little bit of steering load into the car, which means if he was to go straight forward, he would have got an even better start. So he got an amazing start while still going around the mobile chicanes in the cars that were in front of him. So it was very much a race of starts, aborted starts, and strategy as well. So it was interesting to see that Lando came in for that new set of intermediates with George Russell, which, I mean, there was heavy rain on the way, but, you know, all McLaren had to do was shadow what Max was doing. They didn't need to be the first people to make the call. They could afford to say, Max has pitted, we'll pit. Max has stayed out, we'll stay out. Like, they didn't need to be inventive or creative. So they brought Lando in, and then, you know, obviously the rest is history. Max takes track position. The red flag comes out. Max gets a free tire change. And then you're never going to see that Red Bull again for the rest of the race. Now, in terms of the wet driving, like, where was Max finding so much lap time? Well, we spoke about this in our Brazilian race preview. It's the confidence under braking, generating front brake temperature, and therefore generating front tire temperature. You've got to remember that the brakes are embedded inside the hub and inside the tire. So if you can do a good job with the brakes, that's naturally just going to feed out and heat up the front tires as well. And that's critical in the wet. Everyone was struggling from entry understeer and exit oversteer. That's typical of wet conditions. But if you can at least solve for the entry understeer, you know, you're halfway home, you can get the car straight and then get good traction on the way out as well. So I feel like Max solved for that by doing the same thing he did in 2016, which is focus on the braking and nail the braking. Some of the overtakes that he did into turn one were just outrageous. Like, he had so much more grip and confidence under braking. And yeah, we just have to take our hats off to Max and say what an amazing drive that was to come from P17 and win that race. There was a period at the end of that race where he was just smashing in fastest laps one after the other. I think he set a total of 17 fastest laps during that race. And guys, for an intermediate tire that was, you know, getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, obviously the track was getting better, but like, I can't begin to explain to you what a job Max Verstappen has done here today. So let's talk about the start and what happened with Lance Stroll. Well, he's actually locked the rears on the formation lap down into turn 4. And I always say to my drivers in the wet, if you had to lock either the fronts or the rears, which would you rather lock? The fronts, right? Because when you lock the front tire, the car just goes straight and you can recover it. When you lock the rear tire, it's a much more catastrophic situation. The rear comes around, you lose total control, you spin off into the wall. So why don't you put the brake balance forward to start with and then bring it back from there? You know, that's the smart, sensible thing to do. So that was the reason why he was not meant to be in the race and he was kicked out of the race. But like I said, we had Franco waiting on the grid, Max waiting on the grid, and an amazing start by Max as well. Ferraris was another strategy call I didn't really understand, pitting for a new set of intermediate tyres, predicting that they would need them when the heavy rain would come. It's kind of like you're not sure if the heavy rain is going to come, and then you're not sure if you're going to need them anyway, and then you're not sure if someone's going to go off when it's heavy rain. So it's like, why would you just... You know, I think in that situation, you don't want to be predictive. You want to be just on the right tire at the right time. Again, I think they didn't need to be super proactive in that situation. I think they could have just waited and see and phone Charles and say, how's the grip? Do you want to come in? Like, you don't have to make that call on that lap. It's not like a crossover between dry and wet or wet and dry. It was going from wet to very wet. So there was no need to react there. So Ferrari race operations and of course McLaren race operations, which goes down on my list as joins a big list of massive McLaren race operations errors, from the Bakus to the Hungarys to the Monzas to the Austins, and now to the Brazils. Like, Jesus, I've always said on this channel, and I will repeat it for the avoidance of doubt, I consider McLaren an engineering team more than they are a race team. All right, let's talk about Franco Colapinto's crash. Now, look, guys, I pretty much summed up all of my thoughts about this weekend for Franco in my qualifying summary, so definitely go check that out. I'll give you a quick summary of what I said here. I said, look, in his crash in qualifying, and the same for the crash under the safety car in the race, there's a technical side, but there's also a human and emotional and mental and mindset side as well. So from the technical side, I mean, yes, he's put his foot down too hard. He's probably had some steering, the revs get higher, the wheels spin, the car goes in the wall, bang, bang, bang. But from the mental side, like, there's been so much pressure on him this weekend from the crowd and the media. Obviously, he's had some family issues, which I don't want to go into on this channel because they're very personal. There's been so much around him that I think he could do with someone to protect him from that and focus him on the job that needed to be done. He had a fantastic opportunity today to get some points. I mean, Alex showed how quick that car was. He got a good start. He overtook a few cars around the outside of turn 1 and turn 2. Everything was looking good. At least stay alive at the very least. Like, I'm not sure. It was too much for him. Like, and this is not criticism. I mean, he's 21. He's very young. It's his first time in Brazil, first time on the extreme wet tire, first time driving in the rain. So we don't come down hard on him for that. But I think it was too much for him. And I think it's not a fault of his, but more of his management team. Like, you can't just put a driver in that situation and say, good luck, all the best. You know, you need to bring them in with a team of specialist coaches and mentors that protect them from the media and the social media, keep them focused on the job that needs to be done, highlight the critical and key points for the race weekend. We said all this in our Brazilian preview. We said the most important thing is that you got to get through this weekend sin errores, without error, mate. So that was something that, you know, a specialist technical team could advise him to help him through that situation and just give him a more mature, more professional level of guidance. And again, protect him from all the social media. Like, you see him commenting on Kim Millman's post with the women of the paddock, and he was in the women of the paddock, and he's saying, I didn't know I should be a women of the paddock. And then he's signing autographs till late. He's taking photos with a lot of girls in the paddock, and like, there's these little details where I'm not criticizing him, but I'm saying there needs to be someone that says, Franco, back to work, you know, come this way, mate. We need to practice this. What's going to be the line into turn 4? What gear are you going to use? What's the brake balance into turn 6? How are you going to generate tires? What's the play with the brake temperature? You know, someone needs to be saying, come on, Franco, like, We need to look back over here. He's a 21-year-old young man. Like, of course he's going to be, wow, I'm in this world, and, you know, it's going to happen. He's going to get excited. He's going to get, you know, happy and joy, and then he's going to get in the wall as well. He's going to get himself into trouble. So the question is, do we watch him get into trouble and let him learn everything on his own and just watch the pain? And now he's going to have self-doubt. Now he's going to potentially go into a spiral as well of, do I belong in Formula One? Or like, there's going to be all those human elements where we're all human at the end of the day. But I'd rather someone protect him from that. So prevention is better than the cure, right? So anyway, that's a summary of what I said in the qualifying video. Make sure you go check that out, because I do give some technical tips to Franco on how he can improve moving forward. And I'll always be here to give technical tips to Franco, because I think he's been chucked in the deep end with no support, to be quite honest. What else do we have on the docket? So the restart. Look, I think the way Esteban Ocon did the restart was not wise. He obviously hasn't done many restarts in the lead before, but you just need to take a leaf out of Max's book. You need to know when to go up to the start-finish line and then go, and you need to know when to exit the final corner and do it that way and accelerate out of the final corner. In this particular case, Esteban Ocon was leading pretty comfortably before the safety car. There was no need for him to do anything creative. I think if he had just pulled out of the final corner normally, and then just accelerated up the hill, well, I mean, it would have been hard for Max, because Esteban would have been on throttle first. And, you know, he's the one to get the steering wheel straight out of that corner first. He's the one that can go first. Max is still turning through that corner. He can't put throttle down. So I would have leveraged that and accelerated out of the final corner. By him going up to the start-finish line, at one point, Max is going to accelerate because we have to, and he's going to get a run on you and pass you. So I don't think he didn't manage the restart very well. And of course, Lando made a mistake off the restart as well. I think he locked up into turn one and went a little bit deep. So, you know, McLaren with a plethora of errors in the race this weekend. So a lot of work that needs to be done there. There was an interesting radio call from, I think his name's Will, the race engineer, to Lando that says, hey, Lando, Oscar has a 10-second penalty and we want you to go and catch Charles Leclerc. Like, racing IQ is a thing, guys. Where do I start with this one? Firstly, why does Lando care about Oscar? Like, why does he need to know what penalty Oscar has and what he needs to do for Oscar? Like, it's the other way around. It's what Oscar needs to do for Lando, not what Lando needs to do for Oscar. So why would you phone your driver to tell him a useless piece of information like that? I don't get it. And then Lando rightly replies, what do you think I'm trying to do, mate? Like I'm going as quick as I can. So I don't get it with McLaren. Like I said before, engineering team, not a race team. So I guess the engineering strengths are there. The car's quick, but they don't know how to turn it on, if you see what I mean. Yeah, and we touched on all of the fastest laps from Max at the end there as well. So Sainz has crashed. Well, again, he's locked the rears and gone off into turn 8, I believe it is, that tight right-hander. Like I said before to you guys, if you'd rather lock a front than lock a rear, locking a rear is more catastrophic than locking a front. So Carlos making that mistake, and, you know, a lot of people came out after Mexico and said, why are they getting rid of this guy? He's amazing. He's done such a good job. And look, I'm a big Carlos Sainz fan. Obviously, he's done an amazing job, but we measure over the 24 races. We don't measure one point and like say, oh, this guy's amazing. Same as Franco Colapinto. He did a good job in Austin and the race before, but then in Mexico, he got kicked out in Q1 and here he crashed twice. So we don't measure points. We measure like across the full thing. So I think we should refrain from coming out and saying this guy's good or this guy's terrible or whatever. You know, let's just observe and wait and see how they perform in a variety of situations when they're asked a variety of questions in the dry, in the wet, in Monza or in Monaco or in street circuits or under pressure in one lap qualifying or in the rain. And there's different challenges, right, where you're going to be tested. So that's the difference between good and great. So I will summarize this video by giving a quick update to Argentina in Spanish, and I think that's it. Then we'll wrap up from there. Hola a todos, ojalá que estés bien. Yo hice un vídeo antes, después de calificación, diciendo que pues hay un problema técnica en calificación, pero mucho más hay un problema con la mentalidad y la gente en su equipo, el equipo de administración, el equipo de Williams, equipo de enseñadores y mentores que están trabajando con Franco, en serio, porque Franco es muy joven, tiene 21 años, entonces él no sabe qué es correcto o dónde necesita pagar atención o cuál es importante. O, él es como en otro mundo, en las nubes, en serio. Entonces necesita gente en su equipo, de personas en su equipo que puede mantener la focus. Es decir, no, Franco, mira por acá, necesitas estudiar eso, necesitas confirmar eso o necesitas practicar en eso o como recenta, pues mantener la focus. Entonces creo que él no tiene esa persona en su equipo en este momento porque hay muchas distracciones este fin de semana con los fans, con las chicas, con social media. Comentan, él estaba haciendo comentas en otras social media como Kim Illman, Mujeres del Paddock, Post o muchos diferentes. Claro que tiene el problema con la familia y su abuelo, pues mis pensamientos siempre están en su familia y su mentalidad también, pero falta una persona maduro, inteligente, técnica, con experiencia. Falta esa persona en su equipo personal. No en equipo del equipo de Williams, equipo personal. ¿Quién tienes sobre Franco como siempre, cada día? Como Oscar tiene Mark Webber como un mentor, Franco necesita un mentor así. Y siempre yo estoy diciendo que me gustaría trabajar con Franco, pero solo si él quiere. Y él quiere mejorar y él quiere ser campeón. Necesita venir de él, no de yo, si me entiendes. Entonces, demasiada presión, él es muy joven, él está aprendiendo, no es su culpa, creo que es una culpa del equipo de Franco y todo eso, que como manejar Franquito en Argentina como con los fans loquitos y toda la presión y atención. Necesita una persona para proteger Franquito, así que puedes mantener la concentración en su trabajo. Fórmula 1 no es lugar para relajar y decir, yo estoy aquí en Fórmula 1, todo estaría bien. No, Fórmula 1 es un lugar para empezar trabajando muy duro, porque es difícil llegar a Fórmula 1, es más difícil quedar en Fórmula 1 también. Entonces, es mi trabajo. Estoy ayudando gente en cómo encontrar tiempo de vuelta y también cómo manejar esas cosas sobre de la fin de semana con qué vamos a hacer en calificación, qué vamos a hacer en configuración del coche, las líneas de carreras, aceto, todo eso. Entonces, puedo ayudar, pero necesita ir de su equipo de administración. En este momento no estamos en contacto, pero hablamos en YouTube antes sobre de la clima, de lo que necesita hacer. Necesita estudiar las líneas de carrera en Max Verstappen 2016. Sí, puede estudiar más, pero este fin de semana no era muy bien. Entonces, ojalá que en las próximas semanas él podría recuperar mentalmente y mantener la focus y focus en la manejar, focus en conducir la coche y nada más. Como siempre estoy aquí para ayudar a Franquito. Si puedes ayudarme también a compartir este video, comenta debajo, coméntame una pregunta, suscríbete a este canal también. Muchas gracias por el apoyo y nos vemos en la próxima video. That's all for this video, guys. If you could let me know a question, thought, or comment in the comment section below, I do my best to respond to everything there. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or learnt something from it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.